Hello, this is Gavin Palmer with Hero Looking for Group, coming from the Porcelain Throne Room, aka the bathroom. So, I am on a quest. So, this Hero Looking for Group, this LFG is an acronym, Looking for Group, and it is borrowed from my time playing World of Warcraft. So, when you play World of Warcraft, you might go on a quest and you might be doing a quest. You might have to kill a dragon that requires 20 people or 40 people. And so you can basically try to yell out, you shout out, and you broadcast this message of looking for group. And it's because you need help to slay the dragon. So I've been on a quest. I kind of had this idea yesterday because, I got in touch with someone named Evan McMullen, and I'm trying not to show, much of what he's saying. I'm trying to be respectful of his privacy. I don't know how much he desires privacy, but he has a YouTube channel that he has some YouTube videos he shared with me called, so it's on the Stoa. It's called The Bridge, and I am an hour and 12 minutes into this thing, and I go slowly because my mind works different than other people's minds. Some people's minds are much faster, and I expect Evan's mind is quicker than my mind. And maybe there's some strengths and weaknesses related to how quick our minds are. But Evan asked, he says, I was asked what brought me to this corner of the internet. Evan asked me this, and this is my response. I said I was searching for, so I'm going backwards in my explanation to him. Like, I don't know. What brought me to this corner of the internet? I don't know. My mom died when I was 2 years old. Where do I start? So I'll start at the end and work backwards. I was searching for Jordan Greenhall, which he actually goes by Jordan Hall sometimes. I don't know what's with that name. Zach Stein and Forrest Landry. In general, I'm searching for people who are out there trying to do something similar to what I'm trying to do. So we're on this quest, and we know we need help. So that's basically what I'm doing. I found a video where Noetic Nomads was mentioned and joined the Discord from noeticnomads.org. I started this search because of a private conversation I had with Tyler Hollett. So I did a conversation with Tyler Hollett. We recorded it, and I saved it, and it's private. And I would never share it unless Tyler agreed to share it. And sometimes videos are nice to share with just a limited group. So, but I'm not going to share it with anyone else except maybe my wife. I offered to share it with my wife because I don't want to keep any secrets from my wife. But the reason I recorded it is so that I can go back and review it because of the way my brain works. And by reviewing the material, I can learn. I can go back and do more research. I can take notes like I'm doing here. So Tyler Hollett, he mentioned these names. And I tracked down Tyler Hollett from the Awakening from the Meaning Crisis Discord server. That's like a John Vervaeke Discord server. After he responded to my comment on his video with John Vervaeke. So I took notes. I did this kind of process of going through the video and taking notes on his conversation with John Vervaeke, his most recent conversation. He has 2 conversations. And I learned about Vervaeke from the Sorting Myself Out YouTube channel, who invited me to a meeting which can be found on their YouTube channel. I shared a link to my discussion, my meeting or conversation. Basically, the reason I'm careful about the word conversation or meeting is because of this book called Managing Humans, where it's Managing Humans basically says when you have 2 people, there's a conversation. When you add that third person, all of a sudden it becomes a meeting. And so I would call it a meeting because it was Griswold Grimm and Mercury Black and myself. So Grizz, he invited me to have a conversation because I hopped in the Bridges of Meaning Discord server. And I hopped in the Bridges of Meaning Discord because I was impressed that Paul Vanderklay, had a Discord server and was sharing a link to it. And I was impressed because of the Fallible Ideas Discord server, where I learned about the Paths Forward idea by Elliot Temple. I was invited to the Fallible Ideas from the Portal Discord server by a person who thought I was Elliot Temple undercover, that was Rami Rustam. He thought I was Elliot Temple undercover because based on the things I was saying there, which is, you know, related to paths forward and breaking through the distributed idea suppression complex. Basically, all my posts on the portal were in the DISC related channels. DISC, D-I-S-C, is distributed idea suppression complex, and my argument was that everybody has a DISC, is suppressing ideas. Every individual is, including Eric Weinstein. So I joined the portal because Eric Weinstein was talking to Peter Thiel about trying to make some real change, and I was hoping to connect with Weinstein and Thiel to see if I could help. You know, all I'm trying to do is help, right? And I believe that whenever I am cooperating and coordinating with other people, that I can add value. I really believe that, and I actually believe that everyone can, and we should practice developing ourselves so that we are able to more efficiently help and add value. So that was my quest. So if you're playing these games, like I'm playing a game in the real world, I'm kind of doing LARPing, live action role playing in the real world, and this is kind of my quest history so far. And, you know, as an overview. So I was taking notes on Evan's The Bridge, and I'll kind of start at the end of that. Well, I got to record notes now because, you know, I feel like I try to live life as if death is on my shoulder. I could die any moment now. I could just die. So the risk or there's trade-offs, and because I live that way, sometimes I rush things, and I have an energy and a seriousness that is that a lot of other people don't have. So I'm aware of that. There is a cost to doing things the way I do them. But anyways, Evan, he was asked by Victor, and I love questions. What's your best idea about how to break frame for the largest number of human beings? And Evan said, my honest answer is that to that is psychedelics, but frame breaking is an inherently risky process because you didn't ask me for the safest way to break frame. So there's a distinction between, you know, the safe way to break frame and the dangerous way to break frame. And he talked about something like tantric practices versus some other practices. Evan uses a lot of words. He's aware of a lot of words that, they can be confusing. We can talk about things without using those words. But basically, we can talk about this idea in terms of risk. So, and Evan mentions that each individual they accept a different amount of risk. The meteor could fall into my house and kill me right now, and I could avoid that risk by living in a kind of bunker. So each individual, they live with a certain amount of risk, and psychedelics is risky, and it can cause harm to yourself and others, but there are other ways that you can be, and the key here, he said, be compassion. I think I highlighted this one as out of context, but I wanted to highlight it because I think it's very important. I call this the Holy Spirit, operate from compassion, and I think the Holy Spirit is important. It existed, I believe it has always existed. It existed before Jesus or Christ, and the Holy Spirit has always been available to everyone, and the idea that God is love is an interesting idea. So Evan here is responding to another question from Ryan. When, where, how would you advocate for the use of psychedelics in the process of self-inquiry? Evan says he got lucky. Like he went deep. He did some heroic doses. And the path is very dangerous because you can harm yourself and others. It is not a safe path. I would recommend the Psychedelic Explorer's Guide, Safe, Therapeutic, and Sacred Journeys by James Fadiman. That's the signal. I haven't read the book, but I definitely think we need to respect the use of mind-altering substances. I have experience with cannabis and psilocybin, and there are risks to doing those things. Some are more risky than others, but I would say, I learned from Carlos Castaneda and the teachings of Don Juan, intent is important. What is your intent? I mean, set and setting is important too, but I think that's all related to intent. So the good intent, I have to go back to Elliot Temple, is pass forward, creating opportunities for others to teach you. And I would even, with the psychedelic experience, allow not just other people, but plants and experiences and nature. You can learn from a lot of things, not just people, but I think learning from people is really good as well. So Evan had some things to say. Let's see. So he wanted to disentangle the notion of science and empiricism, and this is good for people who are kind of into scientism, or the idea that science or the processes by which scientific discoveries are made are somehow, those truths or facts that come out of that are somehow more important than everything else. And I actually, I've thought about this for a long time. I think the way I would express this idea is that having a mindset or a belief, it changes the way you live your life and the way you experience life. And the question can be, well, is that belief an improvement on your previous belief or mindset? And so that is a type of empiricism, but it is not scientific. It's fair to say that it is not scientific, but it is a form of empiricism, and I think Evan and I would agree that it's valuable. And so operating from compassion, that's key. So when Evan talks about, when they talk about this idea of moving from, a state of nihilism, where your mind is in a state of nihilism, to a better state, I think the key is operating from compassion. And actually operating, you got to be living and acting in the world with compassion in your heart, within you. So, Evan, brain damage can happen. This is related to the question here. So, are there inherent limitations? He mentions that brain damage can happen, and that would cause limitations. And then also, it was two questions. Is there a multi-way bridge? Can you move into one stage and back again as an individual, collectively? So, Evan points this out. We are always switching between different modes of relating to the world. It's just a matter of noticing this consciously rather than letting it run as a background process, and I agree. And then if you really, I would say the step that I'm into is being able to intentionally enter into a mode of consciousness. So recognizing your mode of consciousness and intentionally being able to modify it. So this is the way you learn. So the way you learn is you have to enter into a state of mind where you have tried to remove your bias, and basically you have removed your beliefs. You've attempted to remove the worldviews and the models which you have previously thought to be very useful, so that you can try your best to understand the language that the other person is using, or person or thing. Try to understand that language and then attempt to seek knowledge from it. What is the model that it or they are trying to teach you? And so it's good to be able to enter into that state of mind by which learning can happen, and you are able to de-bias yourself. Evan. So Chris said, because even the wisest individuals can also be subject to blind spots, would you say a potential remedy to this is to have some sense of accountability and to engage in collective intelligence to discover their blind spots? Yes, this is key. This was the most important thing to me. This one, most important. Evan says the community intelligencing is crucial. Without that, it is not a valid knowledge quest. You have to do the injunction. The injunction is the if this, then this. You run that kind of empirical experiment. You get the results yourself and talk about it with other people to harness the collective intelligence to avoid our blind spots. So this is all connected back to paths forward, creating opportunities for other people to teach you, to help. Other people can help you correct your own errors. I think Evan liked to say that telescope cannot view itself. But another person can actually kind of provide that feedback that's valuable. And so this whole thing that we're doing, in my opinion, is about learning the processes and the technologies that we can use in order to facilitate and create those opportunities by which other people can teach you. That's what we're doing. This is the most important. This is the key. This is the thing I think this is the mission statement for me. It's very close to the mission statement. And I inject process and technology into that. So Rob, what do you think the meta path is through this noise? How do you select a path? And Evan says, pay deep, sustained, and serious attention to one's own consciousness. That is the North Star and the compass for this. The next step is to communicate with other people doing this inquiry. Wisdom traditions are culturally bound. We can reinvent some insights like the principle of charity, and he mentions collective presencing as well. So yes, so like a starting place is becoming aware of your consciousness, but I think the place you want to be going is that kind of community by which the crowd, like I call it, it's like crowdsourcing. You want to be able to crowdsource the models that you have within your mind. You want to, you're trying to develop the models that are most useful. And I say useful, and I can't help but remind you or think about the conversation between Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson, where they talk about what is truth for hours. And I lean toward the idea of, things that are useful. So, Evan, the essential problem I'm trying to explore is that human development has been crippled by wrong relationships to things like truth and meaning. And there you go. That's what I was just talking about. The people in the Stoa refer to this situation as the meta-crisis. And see, I do worry that some of what's happening, people are, they're reading books and they are spending a lot of time trying to learn from other people. And I have a bias against, I have a bias, and it simply just isn't practical or pragmatic for me to go and just read a lot of books by dead people. And that's not to undervalue them. It's just my hierarchy of values. So, I have a wife and children, and I'm aware of an approach, a path that I'm, demonstrating and trying to share in case it's helpful. And so as you can see, this video is it's an attempt to be more practical and pragmatic. It's an attempt to take action. And religion is how you act. So I'm sharing my religion, and I'm practicing my religion. And I'm trying to do it, in a way that where I invite other people to, I try to create that opportunity for other people to help me correct my errors. So Evan, he says the topic is the bridge, and it's useful if you have read David's article. I think this is David's article. It was linked in the video, but I guess this is David's article. And I just went through and took some notes. He's talking about, I guess there's a person named Keegan who has different stages of consciousness, and the focus is on the stage 3, 4, and 5. And and I ultimately wonder how useful this is. Like this, I think the questions and answers are a lot more useful than the studying of stages of consciousness. That's just me. So systems are not workable as the basis for culture and society. Like that's a claim. So there's claims that are made, and I don't necessarily agree with these claims. Just because, does it work? I think he's trying to give some credit to the kind of postmodernist thinking that criticizes, systems because they get appropriated by the powerful as a means of oppression. That's a risk of the system. And I can't help but think about hackers. But there are processes which help strengthen and harden the system. So you want to be anti-fragile. That means that when there is stress, you actually get better. You get stronger. And so you can have anti-fragile processes. So there's always a risk. But you just need more processes to address the risk. So I don't necessarily agree with the claims. But I don't necessarily want to get into all that. I thought one thing was this stage 4.5 is the gap of nihilistic despair. I talked about it already. I don't know why we have to use these. The model doesn't seem as useful. Let's just say people can enter into a state of mind of nihilism, which is pretty foreign to me. But maybe anxiety, rage, and depression. Yeah, I've felt that. But I was very quickly just realized, I don't like it. I don't like that feeling. It didn't seem very helpful. It wasn't good. So because I came at it from the empirical perspective of recognizing that my beliefs and my worldview shape my experience, and I didn't like that experience. I was searching for something else, and the thing that I found was the Holy Spirit, right? It didn't take that long. So I would recommend the A solution. And I like the idea that Evan said that he's just offering one kind of bridge, and there can be many bridges, and he's not claiming that his bridge is the best. And I would just echo the same kind of sentiment. So the Holy Spirit, I would recommend that one. I think it's really good, but I know there's a lot of other kinds of spirits, like the spirit of the warrior. I have that. So I have a Holy Spirit and I have the spirit of the warrior. And so there can be a lot of different kind of modes of being, or, the spirit by which you act in the world, which can be very helpful. All right. Well, that's it. And I will share this, and hopefully I would like to have a conversation with Evan. He says he's into mechatronics, and I was like, well, what's mechatronics? And he said it had something to do with mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. And he actually said he liked Minerval Arts, and that's good. But, it could be interesting to try to get into the space elevator idea with someone like Evan. I mean, this can be a way in which you help build a company and build an organization and develop a new technology that has an impact in the world. So I'd like to talk to you about this idea, but we can talk about this idea as well, and the things that I'm talking about now and talking about the bridge. I just, I'm interested in process and technology. Like, for example, my first response to Evan was, well, Jordan, the person at the STOA, he needs to be, I think, and I may be wrong, and I'll ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, you ought to be sharing a means by which people can connect with you so that you have a path forward where other people can help you learn from the mistakes you are making. So, like, I have a claim that Jordan and Evan are making a mistake, and that mistake is that there is no obvious path by which people can connect. And perhaps there are counterclaims that maybe the path shouldn't be so obvious. Like, should people have to go on a quest? Maybe people should have to go on a quest, and there are quest chains that end up leading to some outcome. So that might be the way to do it. And I don't know if these guys are doing it intentionally or not. I don't understand this. Why are the YouTube comments disabled? Answer here. Is that also going to answer the question of why you haven't advertised for a means of connecting with Evan? So in general, also all the people who asked questions, there's some good questions. Like, maybe those people need to have their connection information in here as well. How do you we need to use process and technology to solve this problem of building up our networks and connecting with each other. And, I'll leave you with that. That's the path forward idea, not just at the individual level, but also at a communal level. So my claim is you're making mistakes, and I would love feedback, and you can tell me why I'm wrong. You can try to explain to me why I'm wrong. I will share a link to my Discord server in my description to my video, and you can hop in there and explain to me why I'm wrong with this idea that you should be trying to share links to Discord servers or links to places where people can get in touch with you. All right, that's it. Thank you for your time.